Hi, my name's Laurie. I'm from Sheffield, and I must emphasise this is not a professionally shot video. I'm sat in my lounge looking out into the garden, and it's all being filmed on my phone. I did want to say thanks to Mr. Birdi and everybody at the Keyhole Heart Clinic and at the Harley Street Clinic for being here, realistically. My journey started in 2014, where I was diagnosed with a bicuspid aortic valve, which I had no idea I had a problem. I was born with it. I'd been a keen marathon runner, cyclist, never had any symptoms, and still didn't have any symptoms with the problem. I was then referred to a cardiologist who monitored the situation. I was having echocardiograms every 6 months, and we graphed the leakage through the valve. And I obviously asked the question, at which point do we have to do something? And he gave me a number, and we finally got there in 2022. And I was very mindful of the fact that he said it needed replacing, but equally there was a risk that it could just stop. So I was quite keen to get this done. By this time I transferred from private to NHS, and realistically they could give me no idea when I was going to be operated on. So I started searching around, and I found Mr. Birdi, and I found the Keyhole Heart Clinic. Did a lot of research as to whether they were any good, and it came back that, yeah, Mr. Birdi was one of the top guys, and the Harley Street Clinic has one of the best ITUs in the country, if not in Europe. So 2 big ticks there. So I made an appointment with Mr. Birdi. We ended up doing it on Zoom because I am 200 miles away from London, where he operates from, and he had all my medical records with him. He made great pains to ensure that my cardiologist was kept in the loop, and he thought I should probably have a stent. So a week later, I'm in the Brompton Hospital in London having a very small stent fitted, which was probably belt and braces, but it was done. And then 3 weeks after my initial consultation with Mr. Birdi, I was in the Harley Street Clinic the night before my operation. It was the day, sadly, our Queen passed away, which caused its own problems. But the next morning, bright and breezy, 7:30, Mr. Birdi's with me, going through all the procedures, signing the forms, etc. And 8 o'clock, I was starting my operation. All I had to do was go to sleep. I think the worst was for my family, my wife, because they were obviously concerned about the outcome. Anyway, Mr. Birdi rang them at, I think, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, said it all gone well. I was eventually woken up around about 5 o'clock, and I was in the ITU with a number of lovely nurses who just made me feel good. And I was having a video call with my wife, and they were chipping in. I'd still got a ventilator in my mouth. I was in absolutely zero pain. I was probably high on drugs, but it was a good outcome. I felt really good about it. 4 days in ITU, which was amazing. The level of care, the attention, 24/7, somebody sat by you. Just their only job is to make sure you are well and everything's going to plan. Inevitably, you have to have tests, etc., but everything came to me. X-ray came to me, echocardiogram came to me, physiotherapy. I never moved, the bed never moved. It was brilliant, it was fantastic. I suppose my perception of a Harley Street clinic would be deep pile carpets and mahogany, etc., and it wasn't. It's a very, very modern clinic, hospital, if you like, immaculately clean. Probably more like a high-end Volvo feel to it than somebody's living room. But the staff were wonderful. On the Monday I transferred to operation on the Friday. On the Monday I transferred to the ward. I had a lovely room, ensuite, absolute care and attention, constantly monitored. I was wired up, and they just constantly monitor you. So there's no ringing for people if you don't feel well. They know you're not feeling well, and they come and sort you out. The food was fantastic. I had a couple of complications, which I think are inevitable in terms of, but these were medical ones in terms of my electrolytes weren't balanced, and it took a bit of time for my heart to settle down to a steady rhythm, which is not surprising, seeing as somebody's been poking around it for quite a long time, putting new valves in, etc. So on the Saturday before the Queen's funeral, on the Monday, I left the Harley Street Clinic. London was absolutely chaotic, but we managed to get me back to Sheffield. I think all that week and subsequent week, I was very surprised at how frail I felt. I'd gone in fit, no symptoms, and I was pretty frail. And mentally I hadn't been prepared for that, but that was perhaps just my experience. But yeah, I was surprised. In terms of recuperation and recovery, I started out on the physiotherapy, just gentle walks, literally 100 yards to start with, and very quickly fitness came back, and I never really felt ill other than being, as I said, frail. We had an objective. My wife and I are keen ballroom dancers, so 6 weeks after my operation, I was in Blackpool in the Tower Ballroom dancing. Nothing hugely energetic. We circled the floor a couple of times. We had a number of friends with us who were absolutely astounded that 6 weeks after a major heart operation, there I was back on the dance floor. We're now 26 weeks after my operation, which seems like a lifetime. I'm back to full fitness now, and probably was in December. I should mention that I had a follow-up with Mr. Birdi, I think 7 weeks after, with some local tests, local echocardiograms, which he reviewed. I then went back to my cardiologist. He had the same, and they've both signed me off now for 12 months. Don't want to see me. In fact, Mr. Birdi doesn't want to see me again. He just said, go away and enjoy your life, which I am doing. So I'm back with my cardiologist, which will be the annual anniversary of my operation. I have nothing but thanks to Mr. Birdi, his team, his admin team, everybody at the Harley Street Clinic, the anaesthetist, Shane George, who is absolutely amazing. He keeps you alive. Mr. Birdi does the business, but Shane, he keeps you alive. He and his team, they keep you alive, which is pretty important. I would recommend anybody to go down this route. No regrets at all. I'm fit as a fiddle. I walk probably 6 to 7 miles 3 times a week. So I couldn't do that before the operation, and I can now. So I'm looking forward to a good life. Thank you, Mr. Birdi.